Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today I'm showing you how I make my Lychee Boba cream puffs. These cream puffs have a crunchy topping with a creamy and chewy center thanks to the Lychee Boba. Let's get started. Before we get started, let's talk about the Lychee Boba. I'm going to show you how I make my own Lychee Boba, and you can use this method as the blueprint to make any fruit flavored boba. But being a busy working mom, I would be lying if I told you I make my own boba all the time. I like to have the know-how so I can make them in a pinch, but my house is also stocked up with store-bought boba as well. The brand I like to use for lychee boba is this one. You can find these in Asian markets. If you can't find this brand, there will most likely be other brand as well. These are lychee flavored and only take about 5 minutes to make, so super easy. If you can't find lychee flavored boba, you can also use normal flavored boba for this as well. Okay, that's enough talk about boba. Now let's get started. First, let's prep the lychee. Open 1 can of lychee, strain out juice in separate bowl. Set the juice aside. In another bowl, add in half your lychees, then pour in 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Using a fork, gently press each lychee to release its juices and flavor. Cover the cream with lychee and return to fridge for later use. As for the rest of the lychee, put them in a glass with some ice cubes. Pour in some sparkling water, stir it around, and enjoy your lychee sparkling water while you make the rest of your pastry. Now let's make the lychee boba. Remember, you can always go with the store-bought route to save time. But this is a good recipe to have in your back pocket so you can make any flavored boba you like. In a pot over medium flame, adding 80 milliliters of reserved lychee juice from the can of lychee. As soon as juice comes to boil, take it off heat. In a clean bowl, mix together 70 grams of tapioca starch with 30 grams of potato starch. Stir to combine. Pour in your hot lychee juice, stir using a spatula until dough comes together. Pour the dough onto a clean surface, then knead until it is smooth and supple. If the mixture is too wet, sometimes that happens depending on the humidity, you can add in a little bit of tapioca starch at a time until the dough is supple and no longer wet or sticky. To make the boba, take little pieces from the dough, then roll into small balls. Place the finished boba on the plate with about a tablespoon of tapioca starch to prevent them from sticking to each other. Make sure to cover the dough with a towel while working to prevent it from drying out. Drop your finished boba into a pot of boiling water. Give them a stir to prevent from sticking to the bottom of your pot. Make sure you are being gentle. When the boba floats to the top, continue to boil uncovered for 5 minutes, then cover with lid and simmer for 20 more minutes. Once boba is done cooking, they should look mostly translucent with a smaller opaque center. Drain and put them directly into an ice bath. This will create the QQ texture we all love. Reserve half cup of lychee juice, then pour the rest into a pot over medium heat. Then add in your boba. Cook until juice comes to a boil. To thicken the sauce, mix 2 teaspoons of cornstarch with 1 tablespoon of cold water, then pour into the boiling boba mixture. Stir until juice is thickened. Pour into a bowl and set aside to cool completely to room temperature. Do not place our cooked boba in the fridge. It will change the texture. Now let's make the cream puff topping. In a bowl, add in 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour and 1½ tablespoons of brown sugar. Stir until well combined. Make sure you break up any brown sugar clumps. Pour in 3 tablespoons of melted and salted butter. Stir using your spatula until dough forms. Pour dough onto a large sheet of wax paper, then place another large sheet of wax paper on top. Using a rolling pin, roll over the dough from all angles to get the dough as flat as possible. Once complete, place in fridge to set up. Now it's finally time to make the cream puff. In a pot over medium heat, adding half cup of reserved lychee juice, 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, and half tablespoon of sugar. Once butter and sugar have melted, add in half cup of all-purpose flour. Stir with spatula until dough is formed. Then continue to stir and cook over medium heat to remove as much moisture from the dough as possible. This right here is a crucial step. If you don't remove enough moisture from the dough, your cream puff will collapse once it's out of the oven. A good way to tell if the dough is ready is you will notice a thin film forming at the bottom of your pot. When that happens, your dough is ready. Pour your dough into a clean bowl and allow to cool for about 15 minutes. While the dough is cooling, whisk together 2 large eggs and set aside. Once the dough has cooled a little, pour in a little bit of egg mixture. Whisk into the dough. If your dough is still a little warm, it's important to add in just a little bit of egg at a time and work really quickly to whisk it into the batter. You don't want to cook the eggs. After dough has come together, place it all into a piping bag with a large round nozzle. Pipe small rounds of pastry. Make sure you leave room in between as they will puff up in the oven. Take out the topping you made earlier. Remove top layer of wax paper. Using a round cookie cutter, or you can also use a can or a cup with a sharp edge, cut out circles bigger than your cream puff. Place the cutout topping on top of each cream puff. Be very careful when handling the topping. Because it's so thin, the butter melts easily and makes it hard to handle. If it breaks apart, don't worry, just try to piece them back together on top of each cream puff. It will create more cracking, which might not look as beautiful, but it also means more crunchy texture on top. Then place in a preheated 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, open the oven door wide to allow steam out, then bake for another 15 minutes. It's so important to not underbake these. If they are not completely baked, your cream puff will collapse as soon as they come out of the oven. Once they're done, set on cooling rack to cool down. Once the cream puffs have completely cooled down, it's time to make the lychee whipped cream. Take the whipped cream out of the fridge and strain out lychee pieces. Use a spatula to push out all the juices from the lychee. Whip until cream is stiff. I did not add any sugar to this since the lychee boba is already sweet. If you prefer to have your desserts extra sweet, feel free to add sugar at this step. Place whipped cream into a piping bag. Now it's finally time to assemble. Cut your cooled cream puffs in half. Make sure to be very gentle when handling these. They can be easily crushed. Start by piping some whipped cream into the bottom of your cream puff. Then topping it with some lychee boba in lychee syrup. If you like your cream puffs extra creamy, go ahead and pipe some more whipped cream on top of the boba, but this is enough cream for me. Place the top half of the cream puff on top of the boba, and there you go, your lychee boba cream is ready to be enjoyed. I know there's quite a few steps to this recipe, but these lychee boba cream puffs are creamy, sweet, and slightly tangy from the lychee juice. The cream puff itself is soft with a slightly crunchy top. It's a delicious, light and airy dessert, and in my opinion, it's so worth the effort. I hope you enjoy.